Riverside. I don't call that building that though. That building in front of us is the building that comes with its own hand movement. I've already seen it like 5 times. So y'all are watching me right now. I'm also watching you right now. And every time somebody notices this one and they want somebody else to notice it, they will nudge them and do one of 3 things. Something like this. Huh? What? Something like this. Huh? Or something like this. Peace and love, or a little pinch. Look at the bottom of the building. Your eyes are not deceiving you. It's built on a 40-foot base. It goes outwards from there. Now, my favorite thing about one big North Riverside, I'm going to show you guys, as we get out from the bridge, we'll look up at the slanted glass we've got to be going underneath. Now, I want to make sure we view here, because if you look at the slanted glass, you're going to see the full reflection of our boat in the slanted glass right here, and I can wave to you guys. There we are. Hello, look at us. We look fantastic. Now, the way this building's possible, see these thick gray lines, these 8 silver I-beams going all the way up the side of the building? Those silver I-beams are made of the world's strongest steel, developed in Luxembourg. They go all the way up the side of the building, all the way down about 70 feet into the bedrock underground. Also, at the very top of the building, on the inside, we can't see this thing, there are 4 giant tanks of water called a mass damper system, built with about 160,000 gallons. If the wind blows that building in any direction, those giant tanks of water are sent the opposite way of the wind resistance, counterbalance, and it's a counterweight system. Now, also, see that round piece at the bottom there that says Small Cheval? Travel tip for you, best cheeseburger in Chicago, in my humble opinion. See, I know the people that live in Chicago when I say that because they nod their heads in agreement. That's the best cheeseburger in Chicago. It's a smaller version of Au Cheval. They have several locations around the city. Closest one downtown, Small Cheval. Right next to us here is the Boeing building. At least I think it's still called the Boeing building. I do believe Boeing actually just left. But fun fact about this one, it was built on top of Amtrak train tracks. So what that means is the Boeing Corporation owned the structure, but they had to pay Amtrak for the air that the building occupied. That's because in the United States, we have something called air rights. If you purchase property here, you own all of the air above your property until it gets to 2,000 feet, and that's government-owned airspace, so Boeing didn't have to lease the air from Amtrak. Now, ahead of us on the right, you're going to see a limestone-clad building past this bridge called 2 North Riverside Plaza. This was once home to the Chicago Daily News. That was a newspaper that stopped printing here in 1978. But this building is a prime example of the Art Deco style of architecture. Now, the Art Deco style was the most popular architectural style in the United States from like 1915 to the 1940s. Art Deco buildings will often feature sweeping vertical lines that draw your eye up, a limestone facade, and a setback. That is when the tower of the building is set back against the base, like a step at the bottom of the building there. Also, usually Art Deco buildings are large geometric forms that are symmetrical. If you cut them in half, they would look the same on both sides, like a mirror image. Now, moving on to the past the bridge on the right-hand side, these next 4 buildings, starting with these first 2 black identical ones, all make up what's called the Gateway Center, designed by Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, better known as SOM, and they were designed in the 1970s and 80s. Now, being the Gateway Center, the first one here, its name is Gateway 1. The second one down on the right-hand side, its twin's name is Gateway 2. The third one down on the right, that white building there, its name is Gateway 3. Then the fourth one down, that green glass building with a curve to it, you want to guess the name of that one? Yell it out. Stephanie. No, it's Gateway 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Y'all nailed it. Now, the first 2, completely identical buildings. They are both the international style of architecture. I covered that one. Ludwig Mies van Roo, Lesesborg, getting rid of all that ornamentation. But that last thing I just said is not true. These 2 buildings are absolutely covered in ornamentation. It's just sneaky. It's in between the windows. See the bumped up little lines going all the way at the side of the building? Those little black I-beams serve no structural purpose to the building whatsoever. They're just meant to draw your eye upward, making the building appear taller. It's like the opposite of that prairie style I was talking about with Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, moving on to Gateway 3, that white building there. Fun fact about it, that building used to be dark gray. It changed colors, and it didn't get repainted. It got reclad. It was originally clad in something called precast limestone paneling. That's very cheap and easy material to replace. It does need to be replaced. So when it came time to do that, Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill had no problem saying, let's get rid of that boring old gray color, move on to the ever more exciting and vibrant white. And that's exactly what they did. If you want to know what the building looked like before, check out the bottom floors pass. It's still dark gray, didn't change. Then moving on to Gateway 4, the green glass building I called Stephanie. That was designed by James DeStefano. He was asked in an interview, why did you not put any ornamentation on your building? He said, I did. I covered my building in mirrors so that all the surrounding buildings would become my building's ornamentation. And you'll see right now the reflection of Gateway 3 has been reflected off of Gateway 4. He succeeded in that effort. Now, folks, I would be remiss if I did not say, look up and to the left. In between the 2 lighter colored buildings are passing, you're going to see the tallest building in Chicago that I'm not going to talk about yet. I'll talk about it in great detail later on. I'll talk about it so much, you guys, I promise. But that's after the boat's been turned around and going back down the side of the river. We're actually facing this building, but it is going to come into view. There he is, big strong boy. sorry, that's the Willis/Sears Tower. Like I said, I will talk about him later. But the next building I'm talking about is ahead of us on the left. That black box building with the big gray slab slapped on it, let me tell you a story. The designer of that building wanted nothing in the world but to get his building on the map. But how is he going to do it? His building is in between the tallest building in Chicago and the brightest point in Chicago's skyline. How is this guy going to get his building on the map, folks? I'll tell you, he was going to put a map on his building. This is the world's largest You Are Here sign. Sorry guys, those are my fans. They freak out whenever they see the boat. That's so embarrassing. I apologize for that. This is the world's largest You Are Here sign. Look at the bottom. See that wide gray strip? That's the South Bridge of the river. That's where we're heading right now. Here I see the center, see the little red plug? That is our location in the river that continues onto the junction where the three bridges split, and that is where we just were behind us, and that is how we got his building on the map, folks. Put a map on his building. Now, change of subject. Something very near and dear to my heart is movies. I love movies. A lot of great movies have been made in downtown Chicago, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Blues.